Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Well, today we're going to have a debate. We have two teams here, government and opposition team. For the government team, there are Putri Zakia Aziza, Rizka Junita Cahyani, Dwi Saraswati, and Tasya Sindiarti. For opposition team, there are M. Hadi Pratama, Rasmita Putri, Anissa Nur Fadila, and Amelia Yosanda. Okay, before we start this debate, let's check our motion first. The topic of our debate is Indonesia government has to open campus for the 2022-2023 academic year despite the COVID-19 pandemic. As we know, Indonesia government has closed campus for 2 years during the COVID-19 pandemic. This The government has adopted a new learning system, which is online learning. From the late 2019, now it has been about 2 or 3 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has been deemed to be subsiding. Then, must the government start to open campus for the 2022-2023 academic year? Okay, to start this debate, first up is the Prime Minister from government team, Putri Zakia Aziza. Please present your argument. You have 5 minutes to present your opinion of the motion.
All right. Good morning. Repeat. All right. Good evening. The honorable and excellent adjudicators, chairperson, timekeeper, and audience are happy. Thanks for giving me such a good time stand here, and I'm as the Prime Minister from affirmative team agree with our motion today. Indonesian government has to open campus for the 2022 until 2023 academic year despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Why offline learning should be implemented? Because, as we know, students have studied online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. During online learning, there are certainly many shortcomings and obstacles during online learning. In practice, students encounter many obstacles when studying online. Therefore, we agree that online learning is indeed less effective to implement. As I read from compass.com, there are some drawbacks to online learning. The first obstacle is related to the internet network, which is not evenly distributed throughout Indonesia. Many areas are classified as remote areas and make internet access inadequate. So access to learning material is still very difficult. The second obstacle is the number of direction experienced by students when offline learning takes place. This direction can be related to a less supportive environment, making it difficult for students to concentrate. Besides that, direction also often arise from smartphone and gadgets used from online learning in the form of a desire to open other application outside of the application for learning. Some of the obstacles above the quiet and absent to student understanding in understanding the material presented online. So in this case, online learning provides a learning method that is less effective when compared to offline learning. So the solution to this problem is to halt offline learning, taking into action some of the shortcomings of online learning that I mentioned above, so that students can learn effectively. Maybe that's all from me. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you for your speech. So that was Prime Minister arguing for the motion. Next, we're going to listen the argument of Leader of Opposition, M. Hadi Pratama. You have 5 minutes to present your speech about the motion.
Good evening, the honorable and excellent adjudicators, chairperson, timekeeper, and audience. Thanks for giving me such a good time to stand here, and I'm, as the leader of opposition, disagree with our motion today. I can understand that Indonesian government wants to open campus as soon as possible. I think this is very good. As Ms. Putri Zakia said, there are some obstacles in online learning, such as the internet network distraction, the concentration distraction, and the distraction from the gadget. I agree with her opinion. However, if you look at it from a long-term perspective, such as the safety of the Indonesian people together, especially Indonesian students, the government's plan must be cancelled. We all know that the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia has begun to subside, but we must remain vigilant. There is a reason why I said that the Indonesian government has not been able to open teaching activities on campus or other places of learning. Let's talk about the data. It is very justifiable if the pandemic in Indonesia has begun to subside, but the Indonesian government has not officially declared that Indonesia has been free from the pandemic. As I said before, we must remain vigilant. Let's not get carried away by the situation. All countries have begun to relax policies because the data of the spread of COVID-19 has begun to decline. However, recently the new news I have received is that Shanghai is locked down again. Shanghai canceled loosened. Authorities have warned residents that the lockdown will only be lifted gradually on conditions. That is, after the contagion is eradicated. In an official announcement on WeChat, the city government said, in fact, the epidemic is showing a positive trend. However, life could soon return to normal as long as people adhere to strict rules to curb the spread of COVID-19, which means the China government wants to have zero COVID-19 cases as soon as possible. Shanghai has locked down 25 million residents since early April. Several foreign media reported that condition of the residents was poor, where they lost their income, found it difficult to get food, separated from their families, and experienced poor quarantine conditions. Even the frustration because of the lockdown made residents protest last week. Some of the pictures on social media show how angry residents are over the lockdown, although it is difficult to verify. Meanwhile, today Shanghai reported 15,698 new cases of COVID-19, of which cases with symptoms were recorded as 1,931. So far this week, at least 11 people have died by COVID-19. It was the latest news regarding Shanghai. In short, we should not be complacent by circumstances. It is better if we wait for the official announcement from WHO about the freedom of the whole world from the pandemic outbreak, because a country cannot be said to be free from a pandemic if neighboring countries are still affected by the pandemic. Even though Indonesia has closed itself off from tourist arrivals, we still need supplies of goods from abroad. And we know that the spread of the virus can occur in any way. So this is unavoidable. The declining data rate is not a decision to lead a normal life as usual. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your great presentation. All right, time now to hear from the Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Kajunita. You have 5 minutes to present from now.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. The honorable and excellent educators, chairperson, timekeeper, and audience are happy. Thanks for giving me such a good time to stand here. And I'm Rizka Tani as the Deputy Minister of Government Speaker. Agree with our motion today. And in my opinion, student safety is guaranteed because according to the Indonesian government, 100% of the odd semester for the 2022-2023 academic year already have good health protocol standards, and 90 students have achieved herd immunity and have carried out booster vaccination, and many have become COVID-19 alumni, so that offline learning should be able to be opened safely and still follow the health protocol requirements. And also, I don't agree with Hade's opinion about Shanghai being locked down and again and becoming one of the government's plans to cancel learning that will be opened. It is true that Shanghai is locked again, but what does this have to do with campuses in Indonesia that will be opened? I don't think it's related, as Hadi said earlier, that Shanghai has locked down 25 million residents since early April. Several foreign media reported that condition of the residents was poor, where they lost their income, found it difficult to get food, separated from their families, and experienced poor poor quarantine conditions. It means saying that Shanghai is really undergoing a strict lockdown without being careless, causing a lot of trouble for the people there, one of which they are separated from their families because they are forbidden to travel anywhere. This means that Shanghai completely closed all access to travel anywhere, including travel to various countries, which Shanghai really maintains and tightens access to international flights. With Shanghai's strong and strict procedures and safeguards, Shanghai will not cause an increase in cases to various countries, including Indonesia. And this means that the Shanghai lockdown will not cause the cancellation of the campus, which will be open during the COVID pandemic. Also, I have the reason why campuses should be open for the 2022-2023 academic year despite the COVID-19 pandemic is the importance of learning offline. There are several explanations about the importance of learning offline. First, interaction and communication becomes easier because when people teaching and learning activities take place, the communication process is only established through video calls or chats. Of course, this can eliminate the closeness and natural communication process between lecturers and students, especially those related to the process of delivering material. The long-distance communication process is considered not yet fully effective because it is prone to errors in receiving and digesting information. This means that the information conveyed by the lecture is not necessarily digested equally by the participants. For the second, more family learning resources and media, one of the main obstacles faced by teachers and students during distance learning is related to the use and management of online learning resources and media. So far, online learning resources are not very familiar and easy understood by lecturers and students, especially those in remote areas, although in fact many online learning resources and portals have been provided by the Ministry of Education and Culture and other educational institutions for free. However, with the adaptation process being so fast and without any previous preparation and training process, so that lecturers still experience many difficulties in utilizing and managing various online learning resources and media. And for the third, offline learning can make you not easily stressed and more focused. Online teaching and learning activities carried out from home turn out to be stressful for students. This happens because daily activities are carried out from home so that the psychologist condition of each student becomes depressed and bored, which leads to stressful conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Okay, let's continue to hear from the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Rasmita Putri. Please present your argument. You have 5 minutes from now.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the time and opportunity given to me. Introduce my name, Rasmita Putri, as Deputy Leader of Opposition, and tonight I'm a team that doesn't agree with our motion. Earlier, I heard from Rizka Junita as a Deputy Minister. I strongly disagree with the opinion of Deputy Minister who discussed the lockdown in Shanghai, China. For me, it is clear that it doesn't make sense to bring problems in China while this in Indonesia and discuss lectures in Indonesia. And on the discussion of Deputy Minister about daily activities being carried out from home so that the psychological condition of each student becomes depressed and bored, which leads to a stressful condition. How about offline classes? Do you think it doesn't make you physically tired? Then physically and mentally maybe if you are too stressed with the given task. I strongly disagree with today's motion regarding the Indonesian government must open campus for 2022 to 2023 academic year despite the COVID-19 pandemic. My reason is that it is different from basic education and secondary education. College students can come from 34 provinces with various regional conditions. That is why, ahead of the implementation of the new semester for 2022 to 2023 academic year, the Ministry of Education and Culture, Kemendikbud, emphasized that campus should not become a new cluster for the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Moreover, what I worry about is the high cost of transportation when studying offline, while students are used to online classes because they can save on transportation costs. In addition, Online lectures save basic needs such as books and stationery and other needs such as saving pocket money. In contrast to students who rent a house near campus, there are some students who turn out to be short on money to rent a house and commute from their parents' house, which happens to be not too far away. He certainly will not rent a house and use public transportation such as Damri or travel where the cost the commute is not small and road safety is resources net. So in this case, offline learning is very ineffective compared to online classes which save on transportation costs. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We take the field with Deputy Leader of the Opposition. Next, let's listen from the argumentation from Member of the Government, Ms. Saraswati. You have 5 minutes from now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, the honorable and excellent adjudicators, chairperson, timekeeper, and audience are happy. Thanks for giving such a good time to stand here. And I am the member of government. Agree with our resolution today. Indonesia government has to open campus for the 2022-2023 academic year despite the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to clarify something about what Rasmita said. She said talking about China doesn't make sense, and China have do nothing with the learning in Indonesia. But the fact is, your leader first talk about China and brings the topic. So the one who doesn't make sense here, your team and not us. But before I continue my speech, I want to answer the rebate from the deputy leader of opposition about offline classes also give the students psychically and mentally tired. Well, I believe that both of offline and online classes really give the students a burden. But what we are trying to tell you is online learning could causing a burden more than offline classes, such as mental healthness problem and psychology matters, because based on analysis at 2020, found that the level of mental health problem of students while studying at home due to the COVID-19 pandemic was known to increase with their age group, such as depression and anxiety. Okay, so after I answer the rebate from opposition team, I also want to rebate the deputy leader said that offline learning is a very ineffective compared to online classes, which I strongly disagree with your opinion. How do you know that offline learning is ineffective? Do you have the data to prove it, or do you have researched it before? You cannot just judge it only from the cost aspect. Then you claim that offline learning is not effective, but you also have to see and judge from the other aspects. Because long before pandemic happened, we already using offline learning method. As far as now, it is effective. The opposite, online learning have a lot of problems and obstacles, as my Prime Minister had explained. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as my Prime Minister and Deputy Minister of Government had explained why we agree with our resolution for today, that they had explained from weaknesses of online learning point of view and the importance of learning point of view, which I believe that is clear enough to prove that Indonesia government should open the campus. So I am, as the member of government, would explain from COVID-19 situation in Indonesia point of view, also to convince you to agree with the resolution for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we know that COVID-19 pandemic had been happening for 2 years, and because of that, we also have to stuck at our home for a long time, and there are a lot of problems happened during the time. For one example, all of schools and campus in Indonesia are closed, and we need to continue study with online class method. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have experienced together, online class indeed could help us in this pandemic situation. But despite of that, online class have a lot of weaknesses that could obstruct the importance of learning itself. And of course, online class could not replace the face-to-face learning because it is not effective. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, indeed online class could help us on the pandemic situation, but again, it is not effective. And I believe that it is the right time to start offline learning. Why I can say like that? Because the data has spoken. Day by day, the situation is getting better, and even many countries have lifted the rules regarding COVID. And here are the evidence. First, that's on liputan6.com posted on 3rd March 2022. Entering the end of February 2022, COVID-19 cases in Indonesia showed a downward graphic. Even the Indonesian Minister of Health noted that there were 14 provinces that were consistent in decreasing daily confirmed cases of COVID-19, including South Sumatra. Secondly, based on sehatnegeriku.comcast.go.id posted on 4 March 2022, and vaccination dose 2 has reached 70.38% of the national vaccination target, and the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccination is still high to prevent patients with severe symptoms from dying from COVID-19, and from January 21st until February 26, 2022, of the 5,013 COVID-19 patients who died, it was still dominated by patients who had not been fully vaccinated. Ladies and gentlemen, with these two evidences and by continuing to carry out health protocols of COVID in Indonesia, I believe that right now we are headed to scenario from pandemic into endemic, which it will be safe for us to open the campus and start offline learning. So, ladies and gentlemen, I still agree with our motion today. Indonesia government has to open campus for 2022-2023 academic year despite the COVID-19 pandemic. I raise my case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, member of the government, for your great speech. Now, time to listen from member of the opposition, Anissa Nur Fadila. You have 5 minutes from now.
Okay, thank you for giving me such a good time, the honorable adjudicators, chairperson, timekeeper, and audience. I am the member of opposition. My name is Anissa Nur Fadila, and I disagree with our motion. The Indonesia government has to open the campus for 2022-2023 academic year despite COVID-19 pandemic. But before, I want to answer member of government who rebate deputy leader of opposition related to Dwi Saraswati question why offline learning didn't effective. Of course, it is not effective. Offline learning is not effective now. Pandemic has happened since 2 years. Because pandemic COVID-19, offline learning is not effective. That's right. If we did offline learning, it would increase COVID-19 pandemic. Then it will make new and bigger cases of COVID-19. Then Indonesia government will do lockdown. Those are the answer why offline learning isn't effective now. Next, I want to read what member of government states. You said that the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccination is still high to prevent patients from severe symptoms from that. Where did you get the data? I find the newest fact based on Indonesian Ministry of Health, the effectiveness against the symptom is only 13% after the first dose. There is in Wikipedia. Let's see about the effectiveness of vaccine to open the campus. I'm going to convince you about the data, and it is why Indonesia government shouldn't open the campus. Ladies and gentlemen, to open the campus for 2022-2023 academic year, it is doubting. Indonesia government cannot do that yet. The COVID-19 pandemic still happens around us. Based on the data from Indonesia Ministry of Health on Wikipedia, there are many Indonesia population has received vaccine. 73% received 1 dose, 61% received 2 doses, and only 15% received 3 doses. But it doesn't prevent people to suffer COVID-19. The effectiveness of corona vaccine is 98% in preventing that. But the effectiveness against the symptom is only 13% after the first dose. So it will not ensure this COVID-19 go away. It is dangerous if Indonesia government opens the campus. There is possibility that COVID-19 will be around the students, because when students learn in the classroom where it is closed and a small room, COVID-19 can spread easily. Maybe the campus will make a rule to use masks in the classroom, but one of CDC or Central of Disease Control from United States said that using masks can protect person only about 7.5% from coronavirus. Ladies and gentlemen, there is possibility that one student who suffer COVID-19 will spread it to other students, and it will make so many students, even the lecturer and all of staff in the campus, suffer COVID-19. Then it will make many new COVID-19 cases. Ladies and gentlemen, given from that point, opening campus is not a good idea now. So from all those points I already given, I totally disagree with our motion today. Indonesia government has to open the campus for 2022-2023 academic year despite COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, member of the opposition. Next, we're going to listen the last speaker from the government team, Tasha Sugianti as government whip. Please present your argument. We have 5 minutes from now.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I am a government whip. The speaker will summarize and explain why government has to open campus for the 2022-2023 academic year despite the COVID-19 pandemic. There are some points in here. First, online classes requires more effort for students to understand the material and concept of the lesson presented in the form of videos or PowerPoint. Next, skill in using technology, because there are still many lecturers and students who are confused about using learning media such as Zoom, Google Classroom, Google Meeting, e-learning, and so on. Next, technological development can trigger cybercrime in online learning applications or platforms so that students cannot process and develop. Next, the stress experienced by students who are triggered by boredom due to monotonous learning methods. Next, inequality of internet access in various regions so that students in certain areas often have difficulty in accessing the network. So that is affect students' learning. Next, online classes have an impact on decreasing students' learning achievement. Even though it have been more than 2 years, online classes still have many obstacles. And in fact, offline learning is more effective than the online classes. That is facts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nice closing from government whip. Now let's listen to the last speaker from the opposition whip, Amelia Yasanda. You have 5 minutes from now.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity that has given to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the opposition whip, and I'm here to summarize and explain why Indonesian government should not open campus in 2022 by focusing 5 issues. Also, it represented by 5 letters COVID. C is for college need to consider about several things before actually reopen offline learning. O for online learning reduce financial costs. Many of students are not living in the same place as their campus or schools. I agree with the deputy leader of opposition. Students need to spend more if online campus is really open in 2022. Students will rent houses near campus or need to spend more time and money to use public transportation, which will cost a lot. V for vaccination programs are incredibly complicated. Based on Wikipedia, 73% of Indonesian population has received first doses. However, only 13% the effectiveness of vaccine against the symptoms. I for in Indonesia, schools and colleges are always repeating the same pattern. Open and then close, offline and then back to online. It is really inconsistent, right? D for digital learning is already familiar to students. It's been 2 years Indonesian students were studying via online. So we are already know how to solve the problem of online learning. Everyone else's opinions is right, but remember, we already have so much awful things happening in the world because of COVID-19. And as stated by the leader of opposition, the Indonesian government has not officially announced that Indonesia is free from the COVID-19 pandemic. So Indonesian government is making the right decision to not opening campus in 2022. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, opposition whip. With the nice closing from the opposition whip, we have finished this debate and we have listened all the arguments from each team about the motion Indonesia government has to open campus from for the 2022-2023 academic year despite COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, I think that's all our debate today. Thank you for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.